Hello, I'm Claire Smith and welcome to my channel. So I do videos on perfumes and on perfume science, and today I thought I'd start my own tag. So I've been reading the New York magazine, and more specifically The Cut, and they have a column that they call Scent Memories, and they interview various perfumers and various different people about their scent memories. So I'm just going to answer the questions and I'm going to tag a few people and see whether anybody does it. I have no idea how this is going to go, so let's just get into it. So the first one is your first scent memory. So for me, I think my first scent memory is probably being outside. It's probably being in the garden. I remember especially being in the greenhouse and watering tomatoes with my mum, and also being outside and planting onions with my dad. So that kind of smell of tomatoes, tomato leaves, and also of wet earth as well are very evocative of my childhood. I think another thing that really reminds me of childhood is the smell of hospitals and the smell of, those wipes that they used to wipe down injection sites when you're about to have blood taken. I went into hospital when I was about 4 and I was in there for about 2 months. So that happened quite a lot, and I learnt to associate fear with the smell of those alcohol swabs. So the next one is happiness smells like. So for me, the happiest day of my life has been my wedding, and at my wedding we had roses, but I also wore a very rose-scented perfume. So the scent of roses really does bring back those feelings from that day, and I do always associate roses with my wedding. I also associate homemade carrot cake with that day. So just that kind of very rich, very sweet, sticky kind of smell of carrot cake topped with cream cheese frosting. Every time I smell a carrot cake, it just brings back those memories of that wedding day, and also memories of being on honeymoon, because remember we took the carrot cake with us because we couldn't see it go to waste. We wanted to finish every last bit. It was actually my friend who made a carrot cake for our wedding, and it was the most amazing cake I've ever tasted. So yeah, carrot cake and roses are the smell of happiness for me. The next one is love smells like, and to me, love smells like home cooked food. So my husband does a lot of cooking, but also my mum does a lot of cooking, and my mum is 82 now, and she has that very much sort of wartime mentality when it comes to food. So she was born in 1939, so she grew up under rationing, and she cooks things, very traditional foods like stews, and she also makes amazing vegetable soups. So she will just randomly go to the fridge and then just pull out whatever vegetable she's got, and she will make an amazing soup. And I really lack that skill. If I pull out everything in the fridge and put it in a soup, it tastes awful. But when she does it, it's amazing. My mum also makes really kind of hearty desserts. So she loves making apple crumbles, and she also loves making bread and butter puddings. And those two are probably my favourite desserts. They're all kind of very paupery foods, aren't they? They're all things that you make from leftovers. So, we used to grow apple trees. We always had loads and loads of apples left. And we always used to have bread left at the end of the week. So rather than let it go to waste, we would make a bread and butter pudding on a Sunday and have that as dessert, which I think is a very traditional thing to do, and maybe something that's being lost from today's kind of world. The drive to use things up and not to waste anything. And yeah, I just associate that so much with my mum. So the next one is heartbreak or loss smells like. So this is a total flip on the previous one, isn't it? To me, heartbreak and loss smell very much like salty tears, and that hot skin smell when you've been crying. I think that, it's very much like dusty air, that humid, hot air that you get in funeral homes. And more recently, I also think of the smell of loss as being the loss of freedom. So also the smell of hand sanitizer and that smell of your own breath against a mask. There's quite a lot of different types of heartbreak and loss, but those are the things that I think of when I think of heartbreak and loss. The next one is a little bit happier, and that's friendship smells like. So when I think about friendship, it's definitely changed throughout my life. When you're younger, you have hundreds and hundreds of friends, and then as you grow older, you kind of lose them, and people drift in and out of your life, and you realise that friendship really isn't something that's generally forever. There are very few people in your life that stay constant and true and are always there. But I think when I think back to my teenage years, friendship always smelled of popcorn, because we would spend a lot of time going to the cinema together. We would always be at each other's houses, and there would always inevitably be a film night, and popcorn always featured. It's either popcorn or pizza. So probably that sort of salty, sweet smell of popcorn is what I associate with friendship. More recently, I think I associate coffee with friendship, because I often meet friends in coffee shops, And so that kind of very rich coffee smell is definitely associated with friendship to me. The next sentence is success smells like. Well, when I think about my life, there aren't too many times where I really felt like I was super successful. But the one time that really stands out for me is when I got my PhD. And I think that ceremony of accepting the PhD and also the time before when you're handing the PhD thesis in is just such a relief and such a happy time. I think, yeah, when I handed my thesis in, the smell of the book, the smell of the printed pages, when the paper is still warm and you're giving it to the binder, that is just, it's very evocative of having completed my PhD. Whenever I go and photocopy anything now or print anything out, the smell of the paper just instantly takes me back to that time. Smells that I also think about from my graduation day are the smell of sparkling wine. I'm not going to kid myself that it's champagne because, you know, universities aren't going to spend that much money on students. But yeah, the smell of the sparkling wine at the celebrations afterwards. The next one is the worst smell is. So for me, it depends where I am. If it's at home, I think the worst smell is probably things like plug holes. When you're clearing out a plug hole when it's blocked and you've used a plunger, that smell, no, I can't stomach that smell. It's just horrible. My husband generally deals with all of that, thank God. The smell at work that I really don't like is the smell of beta-mercaptoethanol. So that smells very much like a very extreme version of rotten eggs, and it really spreads. I remember one time I was in the lab and somebody actually broke a bottle and it smashed all over their shoes, brand new leather shoes, and he was wearing them in the lab, and he just had to chuck them away in the end. He left them outside his house for a couple of days, he was telling me, and they still just stank. So he just decided that he would just have to throw them away. So yeah, beta-mercaptoethanol is pretty bad. So the next one is my ideal vacation smells like. When I think of going on holiday, I think of going to ice cream parlours. Wherever we are in the world, we always find an ice cream parlour and just pig out basically. So there's something really special about ice cream that you just don't get in the UK. The UK ice cream is very heavy and very cream based, whereas abroad it seems very much more refreshing and very much more fruit or flavour based. And ultimately I think I just prefer ice cream in mainland Europe. I love the variety of flavours. I love that you can get, you know, licorice ice cream, you can get violet ice cream. I love that you can go into a ice cafe in Germany or a cafe glacier in France or a heladeria in Spain or a gelateria in Italy, and you can get exactly what you want in whatever combination you want and just pick out. So for me, I think, yeah, an ideal vacation would smell like an ice cream parlour. The next one is my house smells like. Well, I think that most people don't actually know what their own houses smell like because you get used to your own smell, don't you? I think the only time when you actually realise what your house smells like is when you've been away for a long time. Like when you come back from holiday and the house has been shut up for a long time, that's when you realise just how your house smells. I would like to think that my house smells of the candles that I burn, so maybe at the moment it would be cookies and cream. Or it might smell of the wax melts that my friend gives me. So she gives me ones that smell very much like Giorgio Armani Sea. So kind of that rich blackcurrant kind of smell. I also do think probably that my house smells of cooking. So my husband does a lot of cooking and also I do a lot of baking. So it might smell of that kind of bready kind of vanilla-y smell. My husband actually made pizza last night. So maybe my house currently smells of pizza. So yeah, it's probably going to vary depending upon what's been cooked recently. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't smell bad. So the next one is first thing I smell in the morning. I don't know. It might probably be toothpaste actually, because that's quite minty, isn't it? It's quite strong. That's probably the first thing I smell in the morning. If you discount smelling the pillow, I think when you wake up with your face in a pillow, that's got a very distinctive smell of kind of warm skin, hasn't it? So it's either that or the toothpaste. Last thing I smell before I go to bed. Well, that's easy at the moment because I'm using a honey lip balm. So the scent of the honey lip balm is the last thing I smell before I go to bed. So the next one is a weird one, so I'm here for this one. This is the scent that I love that others usually don't. So there are a couple of things that spring to mind for me for this one. So one thing that's been with me since early childhood, two things actually, are that I absolutely love the scent of synthetic sponge. You know when you get a synthetic sponge for your face or your body for the bath and you get it out of a new pack, and that smell when you press the sponge. And I used to just sit there just breathing in the smell from the sponge when I was little because I loved it so much. I also used to pretend that I had injuries because I wanted a plaster, and I was very specific about which plasters I wanted. So I really love those old-fashioned kind of material plasters. I love the smell of those plasters. I still really love the smell of those plasters, and I still really love the smell of microporous tape. So if you're in healthcare industry, or if you are just somebody who injures themselves a lot, you might know the brand Micropore, and I used to use Micropore tape a lot, and I think that probably came very much from being in hospital, which is one of the few hospital smells that I really, really loved. And I also really enjoy the smell of beer on other people's breath. I think it sort of signifies the end of a night out, doesn't it? Beery breath. So yeah, they're all a bit weird, but you know, I'm a bit weird, so that's that. And the final one is I smell like. So yeah, this is different every day because I wear different perfumes every day, but I suppose at the moment I'm wearing Gucci Bloom Nettare di Fiore. So probably smell a bit of jasmine, a bit of honeysuckle and a bit of tuberose. And also I think I usually smell of tea or coffee or of peppermint tea. I drink a lot of peppermint tea, especially in the evening. So if you happen to be near me in the evening at home, I'd probably smell of peppermint. So that's the end of this video. If you like the video, please like the video and consider subscribing if you're not already, because I do loads and loads of videos all about perfumes and about smell science. And I would really like to have a chat with you in the comments. What are your answers to some of these questions? And I'm going to tag a load of people in the description box. If you fancy doing this tag, that would be great. If you don't, then there's no issue. I'm really not going to be offended. So I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.